so much for your time, Nana. Just give us an update on the death toll. Is it still at 73?
We can confirm that after the search and rescue that it's still continuing. We have recovered 73 bodies and 55 people that have been taken to different medical facilities around the city of Joburg.
So do we understand there to still be more bodies inside the building? Because previously we were told about 10-15 minutes ago that they are on level 4 and 5 at the moment.
We are still doing search and recovery. We can still find other bodies because other rooms were closed when we went into search, and there are a lot of partitions within these rooms as well. So we can still say the number might still rise. We are still busy on level 4 and 5. We can't confirm if 73 is the last we've heard. If there's any updates, we'll definitely do give.
Okay, I want to quickly ask you in terms of how many people you guys suspect to actually have been staying in this building.
We don't have the number as yet, but we have disaster management on site to take the numbers of the people that have been affected from the building. We would know that other rooms would not have people as other people have died, but we'll check the numbers of how many people lived in this building.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. That is Nana Radebe-Kgiba from the emergency services. It seems as though the number is still at 73 and 55, we've heard now, that have been injured. I think it's going to be imperative to ascertain how many people were actually inside the building. I heard my colleague Gareth Edwards actually asking the question to his guest to say how many people would actually stay in a room. And that's the thing about hijacked buildings, is that you actually just do not know, because they take one room that's supposed to have 2 people inside and there ends up being about 10 people in one room. So that's the difficulty here as well. And hearing from EMS that some rooms were actually locked and they're trying to get in there, but also to be careful because the building is not structurally sound because of the extent of the fire.
Absolutely. I mean, I also heard from Gareth's guest there saying that if you had a key basically to and access to the building, you can reside in the building. And you can imagine that over time, Heidi, that number of people without the right, management and without the right maintenance, anyone could definitely come into the room. Up to 10 people, or even perhaps more, could be in one room. And I suppose that's why we've been told over and over again the description of inside the building on those 5 floors, that it almost looked like an informal settlement. I also spoke to Angela, from the Johannesburg property, saying that many buildings look exactly like that. But let me come back to you, Heidi. I understand that you're speaking to someone. Heidi?
Yes, indeed. Thanks for coming back to me, Tumelo. I'm joined by Musima Mane. Thank you for your time. Of course, it's all hands on deck because of what's happened, a real tragedy. It's 73 dead and still counting. Just tell us, what support you are here to offer.
Yeah, it's an absolute tragedy, and I want to say to all South Africans and people who have died in here, my deep condolences to family. I also came because some of the emergency services who have done an incredible job have been unbelievable. We recognize the humanitarian crisis that this is, and so this is not about pointing fingers anywhere. Well, I've sent our team here. They've come out with help, blankets to help those who have survived to try and do our best there. And furthermore, what we are also here to do is, as South Africans, be able to go, how do we lead through this so that tragedies like this don't become repeated? And so today I want to stand with fellow South Africans and say it's a tragedy in our nation, and our teams are all over here, will assist in whatever way, help, because after this people lose their IDs, they lose any form of identification, they lose any support beyond that. So let's assist as best as we can, and our teams will bring blankets, food, and I'm calling upon all South Africans. Let's all rally together as the people of this country to come and assist here, because if all of us can help, we can make sure that we bring a sense of stability. Okay,
I want to ask you, I know you're saying no finger pointing, and I don't want to turn this into a political conversation because it's not. This is a real tragedy. But the issue of hijacked buildings has been a massive one in the city of Johannesburg. And you've had many administrations, many mayors trying to deal with this, but also almost sidelining the issue because it's such a difficult one. We have been told that this building is indeed hijacked. We were told by emergency services that they are actual, it's an actual shack. Yeah, inside there are actual shacks that have been erected. Could have this been avoided in your opinion?
Yeah. Naturally, when cities' law enforcement processes in general collapse, hijacked buildings is but one of the elements of the issue. But what we've got to do is have a much more mature conversation about how we manage it, rather than simply thinking we're going to arrive here with mass deportations and simply have trucks come in, Operation Fiela. Those things don't work. What we've got to do actually intentionally is strengthen law enforcement. We've got to come out to buildings like this, have regular inspections. We've got to do an audit of the NGO who are allowed to run the building. And furthermore, with regular inspections and law enforcement, we can ensure that there's a culture of upholding the laws of the Republic. Regardless of where you come from, the laws of this country matter. So to me, I do think that we've got to be stronger at law enforcement, and I've always proposed that we need to bring Metro Police, we need to bring South African police lower down to the ground so that inspections like this are taking place on a more regular basis. Because if we fail to do that, the infrastructure collapse in Johannesburg is going to be a further tragedy as it happens. And furthermore, what's going to happen is that you're going to have more and more of these buildings who have already been hijacked. I'm calling upon all law enforcement agencies, let's run a proper inspection and let's ensure that we enhance legality rather than simply living in a fantasy world of just some mass deportation that we're going to have.
Thank you so much for your time, Musi. We really do appreciate it. That is Musi Maimane from Build One South Africa, just speaking to us about the support that they are going to be offering here to families, to whoever else might be in desperate need of this support. Because, as he mentioned, we are in need of anybody that can come through and support, because you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be displaced, that are going to be in desperate need of any sort of support, Tumelo. And we mustn't forget that. At the heart of this tragedy is also the survivors, the people who have lost their mothers, fathers, those who have lost their children. We understand out of the 73, possibly it's still 7. That number might have increased, so I might be mistaken. But seven of them are minors that have passed on. It's a real tragedy. You can just imagine the panic that happened in this building just after 1 o'clock, especially because we are told by the MMC that there seems to have been some security gate that was blocking people from trying to actually get out. And the one mother that we spoke to earlier this morning, she was saying to me that her son was shouting at her and saying, "I've told you to stop locking the door." It's almost as, a lot of these incidents happen, or I don't know why he kept saying that to her, but it was difficult for them to get out, and now she doesn't know the whereabouts of 2 of her sons. So it's at the heart of it also, as I mentioned, it's really about the survivors and how they're going to start having to pick up the pieces, or any pieces that are left, given what's happened here.